Box. Hi guys.
Okay, welcome to the vlog. This is going to be part 2 of our Q&A. We did a part 1 a while back. So we'll link that part down in the description box below so you can check that out if you'd like to. So yeah, this is part 2. We've got a bunch of questions here on the computer that some of you guys have asked. We're going to run through them. We're going to try and run through them kind of quickly. We just put the boys down, but they have not been napping for very long lately, so yeah, you ready?
Yeah.
Why are you guys still living together, and why hasn't Charlie moved on? Is it codependence?
Why are you guys still living together again? I don't know if some of you knew that the boys and I moved out for a while. That situation did not work out very well at all, so we ended up coming back to the house. Right now, we're both living in the house because it's more cost effective. We can't afford to have 2 places on our own. Right now, while still having the house, we have to fix things in the house to do before we sell it. And if we wait till a couple more months, I think, from the year mark when we went and talked to the realtor, then we won't have to pay money to sell it. So cost effective, we're not going to lose money if we end up keeping the house for right now, and we don't really have anywhere to go. We're planning on moving out. You guys are kind of acting like we're just sitting here thinking,
the day you left Paris, if you knew what I went through, if you knew how much I loved you, how much I still love you.
but it's more like,
Things really aren't going to be that different because we're going to continue living together.
Why would you get divorced if you still want to live together?
We're not going to be living together. We're going to switch off every other week.
Right.
like, I'm gonna play a clip from that show. What's that show called? What's that show called? The Splitting Up Together. Splitting Up Together. I'm playing a clip from that show because that clip is like really realistic to how we're living right now. We're living together right now because it's cost effective, because it's working out for the boys, but it is not long term. It's not long term at all. We have plans to move soon, but it just hasn't happened yet. And I wouldn't say that it's codependence because, like I said, it's not that I'm sitting around trying to think that this is going to work out. I'm not dependent on him. He's not as dependent on me. We've really kind of separated our lives a lot that you guys haven't seen. But you guys haven't seen that in the vlogs because we mostly vlog when we're together. Throughout the week, Cody works nights, and so he works nights and I have the kids, and so we don't really see each other during that time. And then I wake up, he wakes up, he takes the kids, I go to work, and I go to work until he goes to work. So it's kind of like we don't really see each other much unless we're doing family days, family activities, or things that include the house and things that we have to do together. So we've really kind of separated our lives, but we are still living in the same house for the reasons that we kind of just listed. Is there anything you want to add to that? I kind of just took
That's
that over.
pretty good. That's what I would say. Because we can't afford 2 houses. Can't afford another place to live, that's why.
There's a part 2 that's kind of attached to that question. Somebody else had asked this on Instagram. It says, in regards to living together, is there any arguments or awkwardness?
I wouldn't say so much awkwardness, but we definitely still argue a lot.
Yeah.
It's mostly my fault anyways.
I mean, I wouldn't say that it's like generally your fault, but it's kind of like anybody who has a roommate, there's arguments. You're going to argue with your roommates every once in a while about anything. Even when you're first in a new relationship and you end up living together, there's always going to be little arguments. It's mainly about like...
I was just gonna go for a quick run.
I was just gonna do the laundry, plunge the upstairs toilet, call a guy about the broken sprinkler, go to work, come home, and make dinner.
Cool. What's for dinner?
Before when we were married, I was doing a lot of the cooking and the cleaning. Well, now it's like we're not together, and so I don't feel like I want to be doing all the cooking and the cleaning because I'm working more, he's got the kids more, like there's more of a balance that I don't feel like it needs to be 100% me, and I don't really want to clean up after somebody that I'm not really in a relationship
Well,
with.
you don't make any messes. Anyways, I'm the one that makes all the messes. There's
Yeah.
always clothes all over the floor. There's always like dishes all over the
Yeah.
counters. All of that is like my mess. So why would she want to clean up my mess?
Yeah.
So sometimes there's arguments like she tells me, "Hey, come on, you gotta keep picking up after yourself. You can't just leave your junk all over the
Yeah.
place because my junk, I got a lot of junk and it leaves the house looking pretty bad."
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean sometimes there's, and then I'm just like, well, I don't want to clean up right now, or those kind of arguments, just like any normal roommate would have.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's like a little bit frustrating. I know like a ton of people who are married or in relationships that you see all those memes on Facebook and stuff where it's like so close to the laundry basket and you see the laundry basket and the clothes are next to it, but it's your husband, so you're just like,
That's me.
you pick it up for him or you're frustrated, but you deal with it because you're like in a relationship. Well, when we're not together and it's just like more of a roommate situation, I'm like, pick up your dang laundry. I don't want to clean up after you, you know? And so we have a lot of those kinds of arguments or conversations, but I wouldn't say that there's any awkwardness or stuff like that.
2 statements to address. 1, why are you always saying the incorrect words? Are you stupid? And then Asperger's statement on abuse. And then somebody, I guess, said that I'm not a man because of the video that I made about you.
Yeah. So, I mean, we don't really like to address negative comments or questions or things like that because they just kind of are pointless. And to me, it's like somebody has something to work on in their own life. They're struggling with something themselves, or they're just not educated. As you can see, I'm struggling talking right now. Somebody might not know, or they might not have seen the video before that I talked about. I have Asperger's, so in a situation where it's like, I'm not comfortable, I'm more stressed out, I'm hot, I'm distracted by other things, I can't talk correctly. Like, I can say the right words in my head, but it doesn't come out through my mouth. So, I mean, yes, I'm a little bit stupid, but I wouldn't say that that's the problem here. I read another comment last night, and this isn't stating this for me, but it's stating this for somebody else. I think Cody can attest to it, that it's like, I don't get angry easily. I don't get super angry easily. I could probably count on my hands the times that I've been super angry, and it's usually because of somebody blaming the victim of a situation, or somebody just being really uneducated and saying something horrible about somebody else. I saw a comment last night, somebody basically saying that it's okay to abuse an individual if they have a mental disorder, because sometimes they're hard to deal with, especially people with Asperger's, that they're just hard to deal with on a daily basis. And that was, I mean, that just almost was, I don't think that they meant it that harshly as they said it. I think they were trying to just stand up for Cody and like stand up for people in his situation. But that's kind of just a really disgusting statement. Like, to say that somebody, because they have a mental disability, deserves to be abused or to be put in a situation where they're not being treated okay because they may be more difficult to deal with than a regular person is just kind of disgusting. Like, first of all, if you don't think that you can handle somebody with a mental disability, a physical disability, even just their personality traits and so on, that's fine. You know, like, that's fine, but don't choose to be in a relationship with them. Don't choose to be married to them. Don't choose to live with them if you don't think that that's something that you can handle. Not everyone can, but you need to understand that if that's not something you can handle, you don't get in a relationship with them and abuse them and use that as an excuse. You just don't be in a relationship with that person. Because I don't know, that's just so sad. Like, that's victim blaming, just a horrible thing to say, honestly. But, I mean, and somebody else had said this morning that Cody wasn't a man because of the video that he had made regarding me. That has absolutely nothing to do with gender. Like, he was saying, oh, you're falling into the feminist wave and blah, blah, blah. Like, it's a horrible comment. It has absolutely nothing to do with gender. I think absolutely anyone taking responsibility for the wrongs that they've done and standing up for the victim in a situation makes them a bigger person, and they deserve a lot of respect for that. That has nothing to do with gender, that has nothing to do with anything like that. So again, that comment was just kind of like sad to see stuff like that. But I'm glad that we also have so many people on our pages that are tolerant and that are genuinely here to lift people up instead of tear people down. But anyways, the only thing I wanted to say on that is just one, I do have Asperger's. Some of you might not know that, so I did want to address that again. And two, it is absolutely never the victim's fault in a situation, no matter what. So try and keep that in mind when you are trying to write comments or thinking about that in your own life or trying to blame somebody else in the situation, that it's never the victim's fault. Anyways, next question.
You seem so shy and quiet for finding multiple partners. Is the shyness just in front of the camera, or are we missing something here? Yeah, I'm a introvert. I'm a homebody, so I don't like going out and like being around other people. And what I was doing was mostly anonymous, so it's easier that way.
Yeah, I think, because I struggle with this and like trying to figure out who I was when I was younger in high school. Like when you're talking to somebody anonymously, you can be whoever you want. Like you can pretend that you're somebody that you're not.
Yep.
When we met in person, I think I talked about this in another video, but when we met in person, I tried to kiss him and his face turned like bright red, like beet red, and he looked at me and he was like, I can't, I have work tomorrow. And I remember just like cracking up laughing because I was like, what? Like, it's so early. You have work tomorrow? Like, that's an excuse? And like, I remember his best friend at the time came to me like a couple weeks ago and he was like, I remember Cody talking about that. Like, he was just so nervous and like, he didn't know how to talk to girls. He didn't know how to react around girls. And like, he was just so nervous and he kept talking to me about like how he did that and how embarrassing it was and so on. And so I think like, that's something that I was super surprised about, but like I said, it's when you're doing something anonymously, you can be whoever you want. You can choose to not be shy. You can choose to be a whole different person, and it makes it a lot easier.
For you?
Okay.
What advice would you give wives whose husbands are addicted to porn but have not been physically unfaithful? Would you recommend separating or staying in the marriage?
Oh gosh. This is a really hard question because I've also gotten a lot of questions of like, if you knew that he was talking to other women, why did you stay? And blah, 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 blah. You know, like things like that. So in my other video, I talked about how in our groups, we talked about how there's varying levels of different addictions. So maybe someone's husband is like seeking out prostitutes all the time. And somebody's husband's just on the pornography level. And somebody's husband's like cheated once, but that's it, you know? So there's different levels. And I've talked about how sometimes in our groups, we can accidentally judge that other person's situation without forgetting what it was like to be in each of these phases. So like I said, people have asked me, you know, well, why didn't you leave him at the beginning when this was happening and he was talking to people? Well, I remember at the beginning trying to tell people what was going on, and a lot of people's reaction was, that's not real cheating. And that's not that bad. Or, I mean, can you really leave him because it's not cheating yet? Or, you know, he's never physically met with a woman, so does it really count? Is it the same? And a lot of those things caused me to ignore different things that I was going through. It caused me to stay in the abuse for longer than I had to because I was listening to other people's words. Like I've said before, addiction is addiction. Whether your husband is just watching pornography and it's just at the beginning stages, or he has physically cheated, it is all hard. It is all painful. It all makes you question who you are, question your own lives. It makes you feel insecure. It causes problems in your relationship and in your marriage, no matter what level you're on. So I don't think that someone's husband who's just barely starting out, that's any easier for you than it is for me or somebody who's worse off. You know, we're all on the same level. We're all having the same pain. We're all struggling in the same way. But I can't really tell you whether to stay in your marriage or to separate because that is so different case by case. It's different for everybody.
Situational.
Yeah, it's so completely situational. If your husband is making steps to get better and you feel like you can handle that and you feel like you can give forgiveness and you're in a phase of your life where you can do that, that's great. Stay in your marriage, try to work it out. I believe, for me personally, that I was going to try everything that I could in my marriage to make it work before I threw in the towel. Other people don't feel the same way. Whatever you feel, make sure that you're not going to have any regrets. That if you choose to walk away, you're not going to regret not staying. And if you stay, you feel good about making that decision to stay. So I guess just search within yourself, like what is the right decision? What can you handle? What are your boundaries? Stick to those boundaries. I have a friend who told me if it was ever physical cheating, if it ever gets to that point, I'm done. Could be once, that is my boundary, I can't do that. For me, knowing what he had done, I was willing to give him other chances because I knew that I could deal with that, and in my own marriage that I wouldn't hold too much resentment. So search within yourself, figure out what you can handle, set your own boundaries, and don't let other people dictate your situation or judge your situation if they have no idea what's going on. Don't feel bad about your choice or anything like that. If you'd like to talk about it more, you can email me. But that's kind of just what I'm saying based off this question right now.
Just to add a little bit to that too, based off of the whole levels thing, like if you look at somebody whatever level they're on, it's not just like, oh, that's just what they're doing and that's it. It'll always get worse. It always starts at some type of level. Like for pornography, like for me, it started at that level. Like I started just viewing pornography and it progressed from there. And that's the same for everybody that's in my support groups and everybody that I've met with the same type of deal as me. It always starts somewhere and it always gets worse no matter what.
Yeah.
So if you're not actively pursuing recovery or your sobriety, there's nothing that's going to stop you from doing, going further down or up the next level.
So we had to go check on the dogs really quick, but that's one thing about pornography, sexual lust addiction, whatever you want to call it, is that it is a progressive addiction. So it will never just stay at that level if you don't seek out treatment, if you don't seek to set boundaries for yourself and to get better, that it will always progress into something more. But let's move on to the next question.
Are you in individual therapy as well as support groups? Is this for both of us?
Yeah.
Okay. I just started seeing, so we initially started seeing somebody together. Well, it was mainly just for her, and then he was so good at what he does that we wanted to see him together because we just started talking about our own lives and it just happened that way. So we started seeing somebody, a therapist, and then it's really her therapist, so she's going to him now on her own, and then I started going to see him as well on my own, so we can kind of still handle like our lives and how we live with each other, but also like our own lives. Like I can work on myself and my own issues, and she can work on herself with the therapist. So yes, as well as my support groups, I'm going to see an individual therapist.
I think at the beginning, like when we first found out, we were doing the family counselor, which is the guy that I was talking about. He was doing family counseling for us to talk about like how to interact, how to deal with each other, how to parent together and stuff like that, how not to strangle each other when we're frustrated, like just things like that. We had a family counselor. He was seeing a counselor on base, and then I was seeing mine separately as well. He also saw a counselor through church once while we had our support group. So we had a lot going on at the beginning. Now it's kind of branched off into we're seeing him individually, but we may see him every once in a while together, like I said, because it's more of a family counselor on talking about, parenting, communication, stuff like that. And it was really helpful for us to do that. But I think anyone in this situation, it's very important to have a couples counselor or a family counselor and individual. It's very important for you to have individual as well. The next question is, Charlie, has there been a time in your life where you have made big mistakes? And if so, did it help you to better understand this situation? The answer is yes. When I was in high school, I struggled with a lot of things from some trauma that I had gone through and my own personality disorders and just different regular teenage things that I was struggling with, depression and anxiety and learning how to not give in to bullies or figuring out who I was, and I made a lot of mistakes in that time. When Cody and I were first dating, I remember telling him, let's take a break. You go date people. Go date whoever you want. Do whatever you want. Have that time in your life so that you can come back and make sure that I'm the one that you want to be with. I do not think that everyone needs that. There are some people that are, their whole lives they talk about getting married. That's what they want. They want this partner. They know what they want in a partner. they find that and they're able to be faithful and they're able to be okay. In our situation, I dated a lot of people in high school. I was with a lot of people, I dated a lot of people, I made a lot of mistakes. But I didn't have any regrets because those people showed me what I needed in a partner, what I wanted in a partner, and I knew 100% that when I got married that I could commit to one person because I knew what was out there. I had experienced dating, I had experienced different types of relationships, so I knew that I could commit to this relationship. Whereas Cody didn't have that. You know, he thought, you know, when you have your first crush, you think that you're in love and this is going to last forever and you're on this high because it's your first person that likes you back and something like that. And so that's what I was worried, that he was experiencing, this first crush type of love, and that he didn't know that he could commit to me and stuff like that. And so I wanted him to go have those experiences to make sure that I was what he wanted in a partner and a wife, and that he knew what was out there and he knew that he could commit to me. But basically it's helped me to understand the situation, to know that I made so many mistakes in my past and it's led me to be the person that I am today. It's led me to be more understanding to people and their struggles and to be more humble because I know that I'm not perfect, not even close to near perfect, and that I have struggles and my own demons and stuff like that. So it's helped me to understand his situation, to hoping that one day that he can get to the other side of this and that he can be understanding and can learn stuff from his mistakes and his situations as well. I don't really know if that answered the question. Honestly, that was kind of...
Sounded good to me.
I'm really struggling with talking lately, if you guys... I mean, some of you have noticed, obviously.
My husband seems to have this pornography addiction as well, but every time I try to talk to him about not being intimate, because of the fact he just calls me crazy, and that every man in the world does the same thing, but I talk to my friends and they don't share the same difficulties in intimacy. What did you do?
This is very normal. That's a very common reaction, especially with addicts, even just with regular people, because he wants to be like, yes, I have an issue with this, you know? It's a very common response. It's called gaslighting. Basically, it's where somebody makes you feel like you're crazy so that they don't have to deal with their issues.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Anyways, in this situation, what I would recommend is that you set very strict boundaries and you stick to them. I've talked about my boundaries before. I set mine when it was way too late. It was way too late. But my boundaries were things like, if you are not actively seeking recovery, if you are not sober, that you can't stay in this house because you've put our children in danger. Because of your addiction, it's not safe for you to be around the kids, that we will still love you, we'll still support you, you're still allowed to see the kids, but you can't stay in this house and bring that addiction into this house. It's not okay. Now that's like a very strict boundary that was after he'd already put the kids in danger, you know, things like that. That was a very strict boundary. It doesn't have to be that strict at first. It could be something very small, or just saying like, I'm not going to tolerate this, or I'm not going to tolerate this. I love you, I care for you, but I would like to have this conversation with you. If you're not going to, I can't force you, but I would really appreciate if we could have a conversation about this. I think something that's very important is like trying to get education for yourself. So like reading books on this, trying to grow yourself, trying to make sure that you don't become a victim of this shame of yourself being put down, or don't get pulled into this, because then your mind gets clouded on what your boundaries are, your decisions are. So educate yourself, find out what your boundaries are, like I said before, and then just really try to stick to them. This is very common. Sadly, it's very normal reaction.
Well, if you go to him like all humble, like hey, I'd like to have this, a talk, and you give him your boundaries or whatever, and then he acts like a child like that, like I did when she did the same thing for me, then obviously he knows what he's doing is an addiction. He knows what he's doing is probably not the right thing to do, and so that's a little bit of why he's acting like that, is because he already knows that what he's doing is bad, and he already knows it. He's probably addicted to it. So I mean, I did the exact same thing. She came to me with her boundaries, like, hey, like you said, I need you to start getting some sort of, actively start pursuing your recovery, or, we're going to have to start looking at some alternate living situations. And that's exactly what I did too. It's not a problem. Like, this is stupid. Like, that's why would we do this? I guess, you know.
And this was like the time when I set my boundary, and I was like, okay, there was one day where I was just out of frustration. This wasn't really a strict boundary that I set, but out of frustration. This was after he'd already physically cheated. You know, like, you put the kids in danger, put myself in danger. This had been going on for years, and one day I said, I cannot do this anymore. I can't take it anymore. If you don't go to rehab, like, I want this family to stay together, but if you don't go to rehab, we can't stay together. Like, I cannot take it anymore. I can't be in the cycle for years and years and years. I can't keep putting my children in this situation. It's just not great for any of us. And his reaction was to say, like, it's not a problem. I don't even, like, right away his reaction was like, I don't even want to go to my meeting. I don't have to go to my meeting. I don't have a problem anymore. Like, I've got this on my own. And this was a week after he had physically cheated, like, the last time. So his reaction was to still, like, no, this isn't a problem. I don't want to do it. Like, I don't want to face it, even though there was a problem. And so it's very hard for them to face what they've done, but you want to make sure that you're saying, I'm not shaming you. I'm not trying to put you down. I'm not trying to make you feel bad. I'm not hating on you. But I can't handle this in my relationship. I would like us to be closer. I would like a better relationship. This is what I need to do that. And I'd like for you to work with me on this. But if you can't, here's what has to happen. Whatever your boundary is, whether it's something small or something big, just whatever you can handle. I will recommend some books, though, down below that talk about boundaries and different boundaries for different situations or for different people and what you can handle and stuff. That was very helpful for me because it kind of talks about people's different reactions and boundaries and things that you can set that are at different levels, so you're not just, you have to pick one or the other. So I'll leave that book down below. Check that out. It was extremely helpful for me.
If Cody's been sober for 200 plus days, it's been over a year now. Why not try to?
This was a long time ago.
I know this was a while ago, but it's been over a year now. Why not try to stay together this one last time? Is it because there's already too much irreparable hurt, or is it because you don't think the sobriety will last? I wouldn't think it would be so much that big of a deal if I was actually still pursuing my recovery. If I was doing things to keep myself, I don't think that I'm gonna relapse or go into my addiction again. But just saying, oh, I'm not gonna do that anymore, is not recovery. Mm-hmm. I'm not doing anything currently. I'm not doing anything to make sure that I don't relapse. I'm not doing anything to keep myself in recovery, and that is where a lot of the, the whole why are you not staying together, a lot of it has to do with that. It's because I'm not making any strides to keep myself out of my addiction.
Well, and we've talked about this a little bit before. This addiction wasn't the only reason why we've had problems in our marriage, and being sober didn't fix those other problems. It didn't fix the fact that he was, very angry or didn't want to communicate, or, even after everything had come out, he would continue to lie about things. And I think if you're not continually, like you said, you're not continually seeking to better yourself, whether it's just like with your addiction or just in regular life and how you communicate with people and interact with people, if you're not seeking to better yourself, there's always places and areas that you can improve in. And for me, after everything that we've been through, so much for so many years, I needed to see effort and to see that he wasn't really putting in the effort to change as much as he should, or that he was still treating me really badly or putting me down all the time, or we had all these big issues still there. To me, I was like, well, I don't want to keep being in a relationship where I'm not seeing those changes, because yes, he doesn't think he's going to relapse, and he may never, and I hope that he doesn't ever, for him and for the kids and whatever. It can always happen if you're not continually working towards sobriety. And so I don't want to take that chance if I'm not seeing the effort, if I'm not feeling like he truly feels sorry for what he's done, or that he's trying to make strides and changes in his life in other areas and stuff like that. And so that was a big thing for me, is that I didn't think that the lying should still continue past this. And so then when the lying just kept happening and the little things like that kept happening, I was just like, I don't want to keep doing this, because it's not a safe, healthy environment for me mentally to stay in that kind of relationship, if that makes sense. The next question says, can you guys introduce the cat? I always love seeing her in the videos. I have no idea where this cat is.
Okay.
She's literally front and center in every one of our Q&A videos. And we get a ton of comments on this cat because she's normally like our number one audience. Here she is. This is Salem. Kitty Salem.
Salem. Say hi. Meow.
The way that she's sitting. Okay, we can let her go. Let her go back and relax. She was relaxing. Probably not going to be relaxing now.